Ambassador Yechiel Leiter's role during the current Epic Fury and Roaring Lion operations in the Middle East has been one of high level diplomacy and eloquent representation. Thank you for joining me here at the Media Line, Ambassador Yechiel Leiter.
Good to be with you, Felice. Thank you.
A war that's long in the making is being fought by America and Israel against Iran. As an American born Israeli diplomat, can you explain why this war needed two of the most powerful armies to plan and execute this operation?
Iran is a very large country. It's a population of 92 million people. It's a territory twice the size of Texas. And they've been planning this day for many years when they can come into negotiations and say that they have 462 kilograms of enriched uranium at 60%, which could, within a week, be brought up to 90% and provide them with 11 nuclear bombs. Okay. So this had to be eliminated. You can't have nuclear bombs in the hands of a tyrannical, apocalyptic regime that intends on using it and calls America the great Satan and Israel the little Satan and talks about eliminating Western civilization.
As the war entered its second week, Iran was firing cluster bombs into Israel. It's something that the United Nations and many countries has deemed a war crime. Can you explain why that 86% of the missiles have been taken out, that we are still seeing cluster bombs firing into Israel and beyond?
Well, we have to appreciate, first of all, the fact that we have a multi-layered missile defense system. It includes our systems, the David Sling, the Arrow system, and of course we have the American systems, the THAAD and the Aegis. But they cannot keep the skies sealed hermetically. Some missiles get through, but we are seeing a dwindling numbers of the missiles getting off. Just this morning, we took out a missile launcher from which they were shooting a cluster missile. And we're going to pursue these launchers and these missile sites with great intensity. We have been, and we've taken most of them out, but it takes a while. I mean, when they talk about several weeks of this operation, part of that is because they put these launchers in mountain sites and they pull them out for minutes and then put them back in. So we have to site them, we have to identify them and take them out very quickly, and it takes time.
The Iranian regime has been using human shields. It's a playbook that they're notoriously known for through their proxies. How does Israel attack an enemy and protect civilians at the same time?
Well, we've had our hands tied behind our back and contending with all of these Iranian proxies. I mean, that's what Hezbollah does in Lebanon. They put their missile launchers in residential homes and residential centers. Of course, we saw what Hamas does in Gaza. They use hospitals as command centers. And then, of course, we get blamed when we do everything we possibly can to avoid non-combatant casualties. Iranian regime, the IRGC, does the very same thing. I mean, that's where this kind of behavior emanates from. That's what they export. So they're now, because their command centers have been hit, they're now taking over hospitals and schools and recreation centers, trying to operate there. We, of course, avoid hitting these centers, and sometimes at our own detriment. And I'll tell you something further, Felice. Even when we hit the centers before they left, if they're in residential neighborhoods, we do something called knock on the roof, and we tell all the surrounding area to leave, very much to our own detriment. We get less results because of it, but we do everything we can to avoid civilian damage.
Israel's intelligence has been incredible. Should the Iranians be concerned that the real life Tehran has a few more surprises in store for them?
Well, I would tell anybody who's in the insurance business not to be selling life insurance to the leadership in Tehran. But outside of Tehran as well, the IRGC, remember, and the Basij are these, they're like the Nazi stormtroopers, and they're spread throughout the country. They're the ones who executed between 30 and 40,000 Iranians just 2 months ago. And at some point, there's going to be a combustion where the people of Iran rise up and shake these people off their necks. You know, when people talk about boots in Iran, the only boots there are the boots of the IRGC and the Basij and the other security apparatus. They're on the necks of the Iranian people. You have to remember, Felice, that 80% of Iranians are opposed to this regime. They just haven't had the ability, the wherewithal to contend with a million plus armed stormtroopers that kill at whim. And by the way, this son of the supreme commander who was apparently chosen yesterday to take over, his hands are drenched in the blood of his own uh, uh, Iranians, of his own neighbors. He was involved with giving the order just 2 months ago to assassinate people in the streets. So he's certainly not a harbinger of anything good to come.
Well, how many leaders is Israel going to have to take out until they get to the point that they can change the regime?
There's always a point of combustion. Nobody knew when the Soviet Union would collapse. Okay, but it collapsed at a certain point. There's a combustion that just sets things off, and because 80% of the population in Iran is opposed to the regime, at some point we have to believe that that's going to happen. Remember, there are also many minorities, strong minorities, armed minorities in Iran, who have also been repressed now for 5 decades and are, waiting for the opportunity to shake the yoke off their necks. So if they coalesce, if they come together and unify, the chances they're going to be successful in taking down this regime is very good. Actually, we're talking about regime collapse. We're not talking about regime change. The people on the ground have to do the change. We have to collapse them so that we can protect our own future, our own citizens, our own people.
Well, that's the big question of the day. How will that happen? These people are unarmed. They are not the numbers of those that are equipped with military gear. Aren't there going to have to be some kind of troops on the ground, or are there going to have to be another means where you have those IRGC or Basij military personnel defecting?
I don't think there's any inclination for either Israel or the United States to put boots on the ground. I don't think we need a ground operation. I think that the boots on the ground that we need are the Iranian boots. And by all indications, once the cracks in the regime develop into larger chasms, and we start seeing various aspects or various units in their security apparatus turn against each other, that'll be a sign for these minorities and for the majority of the Persian population in the cities to come together and seize control. That's what our hope is. But again, our objective is very simple. Our objective is to create a situation where in Tehran there is not the ability or the interest to develop nuclear weapons, to develop ballistic missiles, and to export terrorism. Those are our objectives. How exactly we're going to achieve that is, first of all, to disembowel this administration, this regime from power. And in terms of how they're going to govern internally, that's dependent on the Iranian people.
You're talking also about the proxies, Hamas and Hezbollah and Yemen, and we're talking the Straits of Hormuz simultaneously. Do you think this operation will end where all three are absolutely demilitarized?
Well, remember, um, Iran finances Hezbollah to the tune of $1 billion a year. That money is transferred to Hezbollah in Lebanon through Turkey. That has to stop. And it will stop if the regime has no more power or has no more money left. That's the direction we're going in. They financed Hamas to the tune of $350 million a year. And of course, the Houthis were also supported, funded, and trained by Iran. Although that's a different issue that we have to deal with separately. Houthis are a very big problem. They're somewhat independent of Iran, but also receive support from them. So it's fair to assume that the spread the exportation of terrorism from Tehran will functionally stop, even if ideologically some people there remain committed to it, if this regime collapses.
Americans are getting very nervous. They see oil prices fluctuating. Is this going to deter everyone for the goals of the war at the moment? And also, do Americans understand that this war is also about them? Many people in America think it's about Israel.
Well, it's clearly not about Israel. If anybody listens to the president of the United States, I think it's terribly insulting to the president when people say, on social media that he was dragged into this. First of all, that's not the level of conversation that exists between the prime minister of Israel and the president. The prime minister doesn't talk to anybody like that. But also, I mean, do people really think that Donald Trump is somebody who's dragged into something? So, I've been privy to all the conversations between the prime minister and the president. There's nothing like that at all. Israel is entitled, like any other country in the world, to lay its case out before the leader of the free world and to say, this is where we stand. Where do you stand? And the president of the United States makes a decision. And ultimately, he made a decision to lead. Everybody heard his remarks at the beginning of these operations. 8 minutes on Truth Social. He said very clearly that the United States is leading in this. I don't even think he mentioned Israel. This is an American operation. We're a junior partner. We're a model ally. We're a loyal ally. We don't ask for American boots on the ground. We fight side by side, shoulder to shoulder, wing to wing, but we're a junior ally. And I think it's clearly understood by the vast majority of the American people that this is something that America needs. This is an enemy of the United States. These are people who are intending to destroy Western civilization, and they have to be taken out. And we're doing that together. Our boys and girls are flying these planes together with American pilots to ensure the survival of Western civilization. And I just point out the last Gallup poll, which tested Americans' attitude towards the national security. 83% said the most important thing is to stop the spread of terrorism. Number two, 80% said stop the spread of nuclear proliferation and the possibility of nuclear weapons falling into the hands of malevolent characters. And number three was to ensure the free flow of oil for the securing of our economies. Now, if a nuclear Iran were to take control of the Straits of Hormuz, well, who's going to control the flow of oil throughout the world? That was number three at 77%. But if you take those three top issues together of the American perception of foreign policy, well, look, the American people are good people. They understand that this is a battle for the future of Western civilization, and they're the leaders in making sure that we survive.
The concept of chemical weapons has been floating around. Is that actually a real tangible possibility that the Iranians may go there?
Malevolent actors will go to the most evil types of weapons. They're using these cluster bombs. They want to develop nuclear weapons. If they can, they'll develop chemical weapons as well.
You know Iran up close and personal. What's your message? Your son was killed by Hamas.
We want peace. We love peace. We strive for peace. People of Israel are tired of war, but we're also very resilient. And we're not going to give up because this is our life. And this is our lifeline. And this is our country. And this is the country that we've returned to. And this is a country we're not leaving. And everybody's got to get it into their heads that Israel is here for keeps. And the moment that our neighbors understand that we're here for the duration, they're going to learn that they have to accommodate the state of Israel in the Middle East. And once they do that, they're going to enjoy a wonderful relationship, not only a startup nation, but the nation that exports sustainability and the ability to raise the Human Development Index for the betterment of humanity.
Ambassador Yechiel Leiter, you've paid dearly. Thank you for your service and for your time.
Thank you, police. All the best.